Hello and welcome. We're back from theballerlifestyle.com. It's the Baller Lifestyle Podcast. My name is Brian Beckner. This is episode number 545 of the show. Exciting, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Extremely exciting. We got some, not necessarily fresh faces, but fresh faces for the YouTube version of the show. We're reviewing a movie today. We're talking about the 1983 or 4 smash hit Men Don't Know How to Do Very Normal Things, Mr. Mom. I am joined as always by Mr. Ed Daly. Ed, what's up, dude?
Good to be here, but let's get to the more important guests.
Okay. We also have with us friend of the show, always very polarizing member of the community. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Jason Stewart. Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, everybody.
Fan favorite. Well loved. And of course, special guest. We're always excited when we can get him here. This was actually his idea.
Yeah.
We did something with him a while back, and he had a Mr. Mom shirt on. We were on the Bachelor Lifestyle, the adjoining podcast to this podcast. And our buddy Reality Steve was wearing a Mr. Mom shirt, and he said, I want to review that movie on your show. And I said, done. Big star like you, that's done. Mm-hmm. Reality Steve, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Steve.
Good. Glad to be here. Glad I can wear my shirt a second time.
That's right.
Although we recorded on YouTube. We recorded on YouTube for the Bachelor show, and then you never aired it? What happened there?
So I can tell you, let me tell you what happened.
Oh.
The software, this is new to me. The software that I'm using, you came in mid-show.
Yeah.
The software puts all of our faces in one audio file for me, or video file. But because you came in mid-show, it doesn't know how to start you when you came in. So It was a video of me and Jason talking, and then you talking at the point you came in, which was like 12 minutes later. Mm. And I couldn't figure out how to edit it in myself. I mean, I probably could have, but I just didn't. So that's what's up. That's why. So this is your initial YouTube appearance on the Baller Lifestyle Podcast. Very exciting.
I made sure to wear my Jack Cutler. No, not Jack Cutler.
Butler.
Butler.
Yes.
Cutler was Romancing the Stone.
That's right.
Oh, no, it's Colton. Jack T. Colton.
Jack T. Colton.
So I'm already screwing
Keep going.
Yeah.
We're here. We can keep guessing. We can guess the whole time. It doesn't matter. It's fun. Okay. 1983, Mr. Mom came out. It's not necessarily, Michael Keaton Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is
he'd broken out with Night Shift a year or two before.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yes, Night Shift. He's a stand-up comic. He breaks out with a huge hit movie, Night Shift, and then this was, I guess, probably his next movie. Another very big hit, made him a huge star. 1983 American comedy, directed by Sam Dragotti. Oh, interesting to note, produced by Donna Martin's dad. Did you guys catch that?
Mm-hmm. I did see that. Aaron Spelling production.
Spelling production. So I wonder what was going on behind the scenes there. A lot of very familiar faces of the time. Terry Garr, who was this is back in a time. Terry Garr, a pretty woman, but she was cast because she was such a fantastic comic actress. She was in
Young Frankenstein.
Every fucking movie in the 80s because she was just that good. She was everywhere. Of course, Martin Mull, the recently departed Martin Mull.
This is also the beginning of John Hughes's Heater.
That's right.
That he was on.
Yeah.
He wrote this, I think, Vacation First, right?
Yes.
Well,
I think I trust you for this.
Did it? We can come to me with my internet research here because I have this one locked and ready to go.
Here we go.
Let's just go from. I'm just going to read them off from 83 to 91. These were the movies that John Hughes wrote in order: Mr. Mom, Vacation, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, European Vacation, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller, Some Kind of Wonderful, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She's Having a Baby, Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone.
That's insane.
83 to 91. He didn't have a bomb in there.
No, that's insane.
Not one.
And then what was it? Curly Sue.
Yeah, and then right after that was like Curly Sue and and Dutch and career opportunities and But how do you write 12 movies in a row like that and not have one just
iconic?
Jesus,
insane.
What a run.
And I will say, like, this movie doesn't get enough credit for being a John Hughes project. In fact, I think it's easily ignored.
I don't even think I remember it was a John Hughes movie.
I didn't know it until I saw it in the credits.
I didn't either.
Saw it last night.
Same. Agreed. Watched it last night.
But it really has it has all of his qualities built into this thing. Like he just has a finger on the pulse of how people interacted. I don't know what 30 something middle class people, the dialogue, the humor. I mean, it's like I've said to myself, I've seen this movie 100 times. I'm sure Steve could say this. We've committed it to memory. Yeah. I've seen it so many times that I'm like, I could just do the podcast cold, but I didn't want to do that because I'm a professional and I have a work ethic. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to watch it just to like brushing up on things. And I found a couple more things that I find hilarious.
Did you say brushing up? So. Did you say I watched it to brushing up?
Yeah.
Did you just invent
brushing
a word?
Up or freshen up? Yeah.
Brush up on my freshen up. Okay.
Yeah, he had salad with brush and dressing on it.
Yes. So what were your takeaways, Jason? What were some new things that jumped out to you?
No. I'm just saying that, and we'll get to them eventually. But there are just there are certain things that aren't necessarily like slapstick punchlines.
Oh yeah,
they're just subtle things, and a lot of it like is just Keaton with just like a look, or Keaton with a reaction that you just kind of it's easy to miss, but it's so fucking hilarious. Yeah, it really is a great film. I don't know many people that like list this as like their top 10, whatever.
Yeah,
I think this warrants it. I mean,
it's a great movie, but man, to the opening, I had forgotten. The opening music is among the worst opening music in the history of movies. I was like, oh my God, what are they doing here?
Hold on.
It's so drab. It's like really a big bummer.
Yeah. Let's play the trailer just because we have some younger people in our audience, just to kind of like set the scene. I don't know. I haven't played it yet. Sure. Maybe the music's in there. Let's play the trailer. 1983, Mr. Mom.
Thank you. Meet Dad. He's a real man. Got a beer? 7 o'clock in the morning. Scotch? An all-out go-getter. But when his job pulled the plug on him... I'm fine. You son of a dude! They threw a switch.
Go, late. Yeah, okay.
Good luck. And he became the lady of the house. It sure looks like he got a terrific deal.
Honey, if you call and I'm not here, I'll be at the gym or at the gun club.
Exercise and relaxation. Good home cooking. Arts and crafts.
Kenny, don't paint your sister.
And fun and games with the neighbors.
Are these any good?
Got 2 pair. Got plenty. That's when he was forced to face the bare facts. His new job is a mother. Michael Keaton.
Where's Bobby keep the extra diapers?
And Terry Garr in Mr. Mom, a mother of a comedy.
So the 1980s, this was a time when men didn't know how to do like normal stuff. Like just didn't know how to go to he couldn't go to the grocery store. He couldn't do laundry.
But like, didn't guys do laundry in college? Like there was a time where somebody wouldn't be doing it for you. It's like, it's just crazy. Ben couldn't do anything.
Before he's married to Terry Garr, was he just fucking taking his laundry home to his mom every week? I mean,
that's the question. Did he go from mom to Terry Garr?
Yeah, I was doing my own laundry in like 5th grade. Like I was a laundry pro my whole life, and this guy's is probably in his 30s here. Doesn't know how to do laundry. There's so many things you didn't know, and it was the 80s. You didn't have to know how to do that shit as a man. It was the good old days.
My high school sons are essentially veal. They don't know how to do laundry, so
Really?
Yeah, they don't.
Wow.
I need to put him through boot camp before college.
Yeah, it's time. It's time. What do you guys think? There was like, did that strike you as odd that this kind of world existed?
I think
it
that there's
strikes me as odd in 2024, but something tells me in 1983 maybe this was some, because I was 8 years old in 1983, so maybe it was a thing where, because isn't that, I mean, we're talking like the traditional family, the father was the breadwinner, the mother stayed home and took care of the kids, and and maybe that's why. I don't know. I was 8.
When this movie came out, I was 7, and my mom stayed at home at that time. She went to work when I was in like 5th grade, but in my younger years, she was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, the reason why this movie resonated with me so much when it first came out, and it still does, is that the dynamic was exactly like my home. So I was 11. My dad was the provider who went to work every day. My mom stayed at home and raised up me and my sister. And the same issues that Michael Keaton has in this movie, my dad had. Like there is a level of ignorance that is very relatable in this. I think most men were like this. If it's not that they didn't do it in college, I think it's just that they were like, it was like atrophied muscles. They just never cooked dinner. They never did the laundry. They never put a shopping list together, whatever it is. And they just didn't do that. That wasn't expected of them. So it was I think it was very true to the time. And that the bet that they strike in the first couple scenes, very sexist for him to be like, what, you think you can get a job before I can? Like, in 2024, it's very hard to relate to that. But I think in 1983, that was a thing. Like, women aren't going to get a job before a man.
Yeah.
Not only does she get a job, they make her like the vice president of creative at a fucking advertising agency on her first fucking day. Like, what a fucking
when we get
score.
to that, I have a question about the number 2 in charge, but let's progress.
Yeah. Well, you're going to say something, Steve.
Well, I think I read, as I bring my internet research back, Please read that John Hughes said he wrote it based off a personal experience where his wife, I think, went on vacation and he had to take care of his 2 kids when she was on vacation. He had no idea what to do. And so he basically made a movie off that. I don't think it was about her getting a job. It was just she was gone. Yeah. And he had no clue how to take care of the kids. And like, I'll make a movie out of this.
So I remember reading one time that Christmas Vacation was like, oh, he just remembered a crazy Christmas holiday season and he wrote a whole movie about it. Like that's why he was
his
a genius.
Yeah, he takes regular shit that happens to people and he makes these fantastic, hilarious stories out of them. So this is how it starts off. It starts off with the carpool, right? He's getting up, getting ready for work. I don't know if you guys noticed this. A lot of robe wearing in the Mr. Mom world. Everybody in the robes. Yeah. So much robing. Everybody's got robes on all the time.
I think when I was a kid, expecting there'd be robes in my future, that didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Much like from watching Teen Wolf, I thought high school parties are going to be a lot more fun with Jell-O and whipped cream.
Agreed.
Didn't happen.
Yes.
I've never owned a rug.
In heaven.
Robe. You've never had a robe?
Never owned
Jason?
a robe.
Never,
or a rug.
I've never owned one either.
No. Go, Jason.
In this carpool, can we talk about the actors in there?
Yeah.
I don't know the fourth character, but Jeffrey Tambor, who would go on to have a very interesting future in acting.
Always played a great piece of shit.
He's a great actor.
He's great. Yeah. And Christopher Lloyd, maybe his most subtle character. There's somebody on this podcast who really likes a movie trilogy with Christopher Lloyd, and this is a very subtle character for him, no?
Yeah. No, I mean, and considering what he went on to do after this. But I mean, Jeffrey Tambor, who will get a good sexual assault on you.
Yes.
He's grabby. He's grabby. But he was in 80s and 90s. He was that guy. Hell, he was the father in Old School. I mean, even still acting in 2010. I mean, he was, and then Arrested Development. Is that where things went south for him? No, the trans.
Yes, that's what it was.
What's it called? What's that trans show called that he was on?
Transparent.
Transparent. Good job, Jason.
But Christopher Lloyd, it's not just that like he eventually became crazy. He was Reverend Jim before this movie. So he was a crazy guy and then he was crazy after it. Just he was randomly understated in this one.
Yeah, and he's he was a well-known commodity at this time, and he's barely in the movie. I wonder if there was if he had more to do in this movie and that got left on the cutting room floor, because you don't hire a Christopher Lloyd just for 2 scenes. He's barely in the movie.
Yeah.
I wonder if it does necessitate necessitate. That's the word. How fucking old is this guy? Because the guys in that car are looking pretty fucking old on their way to work. Like I thought they were close to retirement, and it turns out they just get laid off. So let's go through it.
What's his age? I can't explain. He was young back when he did that thing. Still alive, and I don't know why. How old is this fucking guy?
Okay, no cheating. They're on the ride to work. It's Michael Keaton, it's Jeffrey Tambor, it's Christopher Lloyd, and the other dude, Tom Leopold. I wrote it down. How old do we think they are? Jeffrey Tambor. What are you guys thinking? Like mid-60s on him? Early 60s?
58.
58 years old.
I'm looking
Jason?
at the scene right now.
Yeah.
Late,
Jason,
in real life, you thought he was 58 in 1983?
Yeah. That's like, how old does he look? No, when you're watching the movie, how old does the guy driving the car in that scene look to you?
I'll say 54. 54.
I'd say late 40s.
Late 40s. Jason?
I'm 57. Yeah.
Yeah, 57. That's about right. Yeah. He's an older gentleman, advanced age. Well, it came out in 1983. He's born in 1944. So that
39.
makes him 39 years old.
Wow.
38 when it was shot. 38 years old.
No way.
Christopher Lloyd a little bit earlier. He would have been about 45 when they shot that. So just, a lot of cigarettes back then.
But that would imply that he's younger than us.
Yes. No, he
I'm
was
looking
younger.
at him. I'm looking at him right now.
Yes.
I have it queued up to the scene where they're all fighting in the office. That guy doesn't look south of 50.
Mm-hmm. No, he's younger than all of us.
Did. This is the Wilford Brimley thing. This is the whole Wilford Brimley effect that everybody in the 80s, when they were 40 years old, looked 60.
Tambor was in his 30s, though.
Yeah.
He's 38 years old.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Fucking believe. So they're all carpooling to work, and they work at an unnamed car company. This is supposed to be Detroit. Looks a lot like Pasadena to me, but we can let that fly. I don't know where they shot it.
I guess this was very un-John Hughes-ish because it didn't take place in Chicago.
Right, no Chicago, but they work for car companies. They all get laid off, and something that strikes me as interesting is that as much of a dumb shit as Jack Butler is throughout the movie, what's the job he gets laid off from? He's an engineer.
Engineer. Yeah.
Yes. Like something you basically have to be a genius to do. The guy designs automobiles. He's an engineer. He gets laid off from that, and he can't figure out how much detergent to put in a washing machine.
That's part of it's the big contradiction and the nuance of his character. He could be a genius in his professional life and a complete dunce in his personal life. Now, you did pass over my second favorite scene in the entire movie. Okay,
when he's on the assembly line.
I don't know how Steve. I don't know how Steve, another fan, a big fan of this movie, prioritizes his scenes. But if I'm going to say top 3, the first one is when he first meets the boss. Second one is this one. And the third one is the obstacle course. But second favorite scene in the movie, he walks up to very blue collar, ethnic.
He's just trying to mix it up with the assembly line guys.
He's trying to just be a guy that's very relatable. And he first of all says, "What's going on, guys?" Because he notices they're a little down. He's like, "You concerned about the lions?" And they're like, "We're not concerned about the lions. We're concerned about the lines."
Mm-hmm.
Unemployment line, which
Jason's
is
doing
great.
This is an ethnic accent.
No,
clearly, the employees were Irish.
I could do Spanglish
Chinese?
because it
Yes.
represents the actual characters.
You fix this in post?
Yeah.
Once the conversation turns to Rocky, it becomes a brilliantly written scene.
It's so good. It's so good.
He says to these guys, "Me and the wife went and saw Rocky the other night." Now, usually movies aren't just like, they don't just release 1, 2, or 3 in the movies, you just go watch them, but they were really fixated on which Rocky it was. So much so that they completely went past the analogy. He said, "The wife and me go and see Rocky the other night." They're like, "Which one was it? 1 or 2?
Was the manager dead or alive?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Mr. T in it? Yeah. And he keeps trying to move he's like, it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter. The thing is,
the point is, this guy's taking a beating.
Yeah. Once you're down, doesn't mean you're out. And it's so amazing because he walks away, and they say to each other, "He didn't see Rocky." They completely missed. They completely missed the speech, which was amazing.
My takeaway it's a great scene. I even looked up to see if the 3 character actors in that scene were like stand-up comics or something, because they were all so funny in the way they delivered their lines, and it's great. But also, I had some concerns. I mean, it appeared to be time for some layoffs, because you got time to lean, you got time to clean. I mean, those dudes were just fucking standing there not doing shit. And if Michael Keaton's going to Jack Butler's going to get laid off, it seems like there's some good reason for it, because assembly line is like you're counting how many fucking bolts you drive in a day. And these guys, there's shit getting welded all around them. There's sparks flying. There's shit moving. And these guys are just fucking standing around having a chat. I mean, the unemployment line needs 3 new names, because these guys were not pulling their weight at the Dodge factory. Yeah, no,
I think one of these guys, because I saw, I was trying to find the scene, but I saw in the cast list Larry Flash Jenkins, one of the guys who took Ferris Bueller's car. I think he might have been one of the guys.
Yes, that makes sense. Oh no, he was the He shows up later. I know who you're talking about. And we've lost Steve. We've lost reality Steve.
Oh no.
This could be a major issue. Let's hope he dials back in here, because this could be a major issue for the video aspect of the show. Jason, shoot a text to your buddy Reality Steve and ask him I see he's still in the. Oh, and Reality Steve is back.
Yeah, just said I froze. Sorry about that.
Fantastic. That's great.
It was, you guys were talking about the scene on the assembly line. I just want to throw in my internet research here once again.
Tell us.
2 things about Keaton. I don't remember Night Shift at all. Yeah. Was he funny in it, or was he just?
Oh, yeah.
It was him and the Fonz. It was like Ron Howard's. They were working at a morgue, and they turned it into a brothel at night. It was funny. With Diane from Cheers was the female lead.
Shelley Long.
Shelley Long.
Yeah, they're sex traffickers. It's glorified sex trafficking is that's what they're doing.
The other thing about
Keaton
this
steals the show.
He does.
That I found out was, so Michael Keaton turned down. If I asked you what movie did he turn down to do this,
Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark, isn't it? Okay.
No, it was a comedy right around this time. Very, very popular. Launched the career of somebody else.
Oh,
I know what it is.
I was going to say Police Academy. This is a little before Police Academy.
It's not Beverly Hills Cop, right?
Splash.
No, Splash.
Wow.
Because
okay.
He and you got it, because I was trying to think of like what kind of roles. He and Tom Hanks for a while were like the same guy. They were in like.
I feel like I could see Tom Hanks in Mr. Mom, and I could see Keaton in Splash. Same kind of comedic actors.
I have something to disclose right now.
You never seen Splash?
Never seen Splash. Never. I know
add it
bits
to
and
the-
pieces.
We're doing the review of it. We're added to the list.
I know Daryl Hannah's got her hair over her tits the whole time.
Oh, she was a smoke show in that.
She's in
Fastball
the
was hitting triple
bathtub.
digits with her.
Wait,
Oh,
he plays racquetball with John Candy.
Yeah.
Candy's amazing in that movie.
Maybe
Eugene Levy's in. I mean, it is. Yeah, we definitely need to put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
It's I think that's one of the first movies where I would watch a scene of a man and woman just constantly making out, and maybe had to adjust myself a few times.
Wow.
Because it was,
It's a coming of age movie, is what
83.
you're saying. Yeah. You're
I
discovering
mean, this was
yourself.
83, and I was just watching Splash, and I'm like, oh my God, he just keeps getting to make out with this hot blonde mermaid.
Yeah.
And no, that was one of the first ones where I recognized the other sex.
Did we get any as somebody that's never seen Splash? Did we get any clarification on mermaid sex organs on the Splash?
She turned into a woman on land.
Got it. Got it. Hits the land, she loses the
So
fish.
if he tried to bang her in the tub, probably would have had some issues.
Yeah, mouth stuff only.
Yeah.
On the scales.
Yeah.
Of
course.
Mouth stuff only.
I think it's important to point out too the timing of this movie was
Tell us.
Right in that time when people started to get VHS recordings of HBO movies, because I remember there was this finite number of movies that I would watch 100 times just because it was recorded off of HBO. Mr. Mom was one of them. The Outsiders was another one. My dad loved this movie. What was that?
Porky's?
Man.
Classic.
No, it was a movie with
Bachelor
Mel Gibson.
Party.
It was anyways.
Mad Max.
I just remember these movies being on
Was it
over
Lethal
and
Weapon,
over
Jason?
again.
Passion of the
1987?
Christ.
No, it's not. It's something. The Year of Living Dangerously. Do you remember that?
Oh
one?
yeah. Yep.
Just a random movie that we had at our disposal, and I watched 1,000 times. But that's the thing about a movie like this, is that it takes me back to that time. It's very much transformative in my head. When I sit down and watch it, I go right back to 1983. And sitting in rooms with two smokers and watching this movie and watching The Office, where everyone is smoking inside.
So much smoke.
They were in a private plane and they were smoking.
Yeah.
But that shit happened. It just takes you back to those things.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how it starts. They go to work or they're all working at the plant, right? And then Jeffrey Tambor he's a real fucking snake, because they're on their way to work and they're like, hey, we better not be getting laid off. And Jeffrey Tambor's like, nah, you're not getting laid off. Why would you be getting laid? I'd know. I'd tell you if you were getting laid off. 5 minutes later, and that's what's good about this movie, is it gets right into it. You know, don't bore us, get to the course. They get laid off right away. They get laid off. Christopher Lloyd tries to take his own life, which is in no way an indictment of capitalism whatsoever. The fact that he doesn't have a job makes him want to end his own life, but it's, things are bleak. They get laid off. They go get fucking wasted after, which is exactly what you got to do. And then Michael Keaton comes home, and without really much he comes home. His whole family, they kind of parentalize the kids. This is not what any good parental therapist would teach you to do. You don't tell your 7, 5, and
7, 8
1 and a
year old,
half year old that your dad just lost his job. You just keep going with life. And she gets them all dressed up. They come home and she goes, oh yeah, dad lost his job. And he goes, what's for dinner? And she says, the Colonel chicken. Like she could throw a fucking pot roast. He came home late. Like let's have something. How about some fucking chicken? Make something up.
There was a good exchange with his son. He goes, "You're not a bum, are you, Dad?" And he goes, "No, but I'm working on it."
Yes,
working on it. Yeah, working on it. So the kids' names, the baby's name is Megan. Kenny is the middle one, and the redhead, I forget his name, is a real star in this. They give him some really funny lines, like subtle lines, like when they're watching the soap opera later on. And what was Michael Keaton's character is like, Kenny's a skunk. He gets all the women. And the 10-year-old is like, yeah, well, he sure got Nikki. And Michael Keaton like shoots him a look like, why do you even know that? Why would you even be aware of that? It's really funny.
And he's got an Eric Hipple poster on his wall.
Yeah. Saw that.
Lions quarterback.
Saw that.
Eric Hipple in Rocky 3.
Yes.
Yeah, there were some issues with the parenting. He's also desperately trying to potty train a baby that's not even 2 years old yet. Like this is that's way early. That's almost abusive. You know, it's just like you're trying to train yourself at that. Like, what are you trying to do? Just leave him in diapers. It's no big deal, buddy. So then the wife, Terry Garr, goes, well, I could go get a fucking job. And then he's almost takes it as a joke. He's in uproarious laughter, like, oh, come on, you get a job.
It's like today, I think you would like look at your wife and you'd be like, wait, we could like double our income? Of course you are, because everybody else was doing this.
Job.
His first reaction was like, there's no way you're going to get a job. But so she gets a job first, and that scene where she's just walking around and giving him instructions, just like all these things that you got to know, that it very much hitting the theme that a stay-at-home mom is a full-time job. And that, John Hughes very much wants to paint this theme that they are underappreciated. Men have no idea what they're doing, and he does a great job with the instructions. And Keaton is kind of half listening, and he's kind of, you should probably want to go over them again. It's real. I just love the way that they walk through this scene here.
Yeah, this was something, like you said, this was obviously early 80s, and it's just like, this was what they expected. And when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I'm not going to complain. Terry Garr was in this movie. She was a hot in 1983 for sure. She was,
yeah.
But in my internet research,
went braless a lot throughout this movie. I noticed. Yeah.
Internet research: 4 women considered for the role of Caroline Butler. Karen Allen.
Oh, legend.
Jane Curtin, SNL. Farrah Fawcett, and Sally Field. Wow. I could see of those 4, Sally Field.
Of course,
I can't see Farrah.
No, she
didn't have the chops. Didn't have the chops. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and also too hot, too attractive. Yeah, too hot.
Yeah, those were the 4 considered for Caroline, and then for Jack Butler, Robin Williams, Burt Reynolds, John Goodman.
Yeah,
Robin Williams. I mean, he was in every comedy in the 80s.
Yeah, but the whole having Jack Butler be high on cocaine the entire time would be just would have taken away a little bit, like, hey, I can't give you that $100 for getting that new job. I got to take it to my dealer right now to get another.
Burt Reynolds. No, I can't see Burt Reynolds in this role. He's no, and then John Goodman.
He's too cool.
John Goodman was like, this was Revenge of the Nerds era John Goodman.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he would have.
And he was only starting to get fat because he had that Levi's commercial where he's very svelte, and then Revenge of the Nerds, he puts, he starts hitting the Budweiser pretty hard.
I think we say this we say this every time we do one of these podcasts, and we talk about the alternate actors. And like, I
love it.
I always say this. I cannot picture anybody playing this. Like, this was the perfect part.
Yeah.
I could see Hanks.
Yeah, Hanks.
I think Hanks.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
And like Sally Field, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. She's got the chops. Yeah. I get what Jason's saying though, because it is such an iconic performance. It's
it is.
Like,
I don't remember Karen Allen ever doing comedy. Is Karen Allen? Did she do?
She did Animal House.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Donald Sutherland got it.
She could have pulled it off, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Steve's got to set us up for since he's got the only T-shirt from this movie on this podcast.
That's right. That exists.
He needs to set up one of the greatest comedy scenes of all time, performed by Martin Mull. Pulling up at the house. Steve, you got to set up the scene.
Wait, we're not there yet.
I thought we're not there yet. Yeah.
She gets the job,
and okay.
And then there's that weird element. Who's his number 2? So Martin Mull wants to get it in. He's so into Terry Garr. He's like, you're promoted all the way to the top of the.
Yeah.
But then
what a slogan you came up with. Yeah.
What's going on with that lady?
Oh,
that,
the
sinister
the bad
lady.
the bad guy from Superman. One of the she's one of the
General
three
That wasn't her,
Martians.
was it?
Superman
wasn't
2,
her.
right?
Yeah, Superman 2. She's
the
one of those
General
three
Zod's
Martians. Yeah,
That
comes
was
from
her
Krypton.
that played. She was the woman Ursa from Superman 2 was the woman in Mr. Mom?
I think so. It looks like her.
We need to look this up. Ed, look this up.
I'm looking it up right now.
I'm floored if this is the same woman.
I'm looking it up right now.
There's no way.
So
her name was Ursa in Superman 2. I know that.
Okay, hold on. What's
character
her
name was her real name is I just saw it recently too.
Hold on. Is it Carolyn Seymour?
No.
AKA Eve?
No. That's not her.
She sure looks like her, by the way.
Looks like her, but
she
no,
sure looks like her.
Sarah Douglas is Ursa.
Sarah Douglas was Ursa.
Look, they had the same fucking haircut. You know, like what?
Don't
Everybody's
scare me
got
like
that same haircut.
I love doing this person in that movie and this, and I would have been furious if I missed this one.
Okay.
So she's like the admin or whatever they called it back then. Secretary, but not a.
She was the one that wanted to shtup Ron. Clearly, she wanted.
Yeah,
Ron.
she was trying to work her way up, but she takes in. Look, there's no orientation. There's no here's your desk. There's no fucking. Yeah, there's no read the handbook. They walk them into like a high level meeting where it's first thing in the morning. There's 70 people smoking cigarettes, and I guess the assumption is that they've been there all night. No wonder these people look so old. They're all fucking chain smoking. They're on the table. There's McDonald's. There's loads of McDonald's on the table. There's Domino's Pizza.
There's a KFC Go Bucket.
And there's KFC. How long have they been in this room?
And there's
no fucking salads.
Wait, is Mr. Schooner in that room with them or no? Not yet.
No, he's not there. He's not. No, they're trying to come up with the pitch, and the pitches are dog shit. One of them's like flaky tuna bits, and I'm like, bits? Who's calling? That's what you call dog food. That's not what you call something you feed to people.
Yeah.
So yeah, she comes in, and they're like, hey, let's hear your pitch. None of us know your name.
Yeah.
You just showed up today. What's your resume? I'm a fucking housewife. Never worked.
Ursa doesn't want her opinion. Ursa hates it.
Yeah. She's a smart one.
Yeah.
Well, she's hotter, and she knows that Martin's going to want to bang her and kick Ursa to the side.
Well, all the other executives are like, "Don't let this dumb bitch talk," and they're like, "Ron, we know you want to fuck her. You know, like just do that on your own time." But anyway,
was this first meeting the one where she tells them the slogan that she wants them to use?
No.
It wasn't this one. Okay.
This scene ends with, have any of you been in a supermarket? And then they go to the supermarket where Michael Keaton is doing, I guess, the first time he's ever shopped in his life.
Yeah. Then they cut back and forth. She goes to work and he fucks up on the school drop off in the rain. He's doing it wrong.
Yes.
And we see Aunt Catherine from Vacation is the crossing guard and fellow mom.
That's right.
That's right. So she's great. And so she comes in. So he comes in and look. For an engineer, he's pretty fucking stupid because it's very obvious that he's driving the wrong way. But what does she say to him? She goes, south to drop off, north to pick up. You tell me some directions. I'd just be driving in a circle. If you go, hey Brian, go south and then north. I'd be like, I'd be like, is this him?
Now I gotta find the sun.
Yeah, who fucking knows north and south?
No
one.
I think that
this was another to the left.
Yes.
This was a line, another subtle line that Stu talks about when the kid is in the back seat. He said, "Dad, you're doing it wrong." He's like, "You don't need to tell me I'm doing it wrong. I know what I'm doing here."
That's when the back of a hand comes and fucking eradicates any more of your doing it wrong ever coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. Yes. And it's just like he's not being a dick to his kid. He's just like, I'm a man. I'm smarter than the average person. Right. I know what I'm doing here. And then they're just like, clearly, first time. Okay. Now south to drop off, north to pick up.
That's the theme of these early on when he becomes Mr. Mom. It's like, I'm going to kind of reinvent this thing. You know, I'm a man. There's women have been doing this for years. I'm going to reinvent this thing. So everything is met with a little bit of rejection. Like when the kid tells him, "Dad, you're putting too many clothes in the washer," his thing is, you know, back in the Army, we ran a tight ship. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but you know, he always fights how things are supposed to be, and then Jack Butler's got his own way of doing things. It's so fucking funny.
And when they cut to the supermarket, he is the only man in the entire store.
Yeah.
There's not one. There's not one random guy in the background. There are no men. It's all women and him.
Except for Irv, that keeps getting called to do the cleanups
on
every
even
aisle.
In aisle 7.
Yes. Also, like, is there an impending natural disaster? Because he rolls into the grocery store at 9 a.m. on a Monday, and there's 7,000 women also shopping at that time, breathing down his neck because he doesn't know which ham to order. Hey, can't you just point? Like, I just point, give me a half pound of that. Give me a half pound of that. Like, let's go. But he's just
he should have
like at his wit's end.
He should have pulled the JD Vance and go, just the regular amount.
Yes, give me the Jason Stewart. Yes. Jason Stewart, have you addressed the fact that you look so much like JD Vance, and that our audience wants to know?
I didn't even think about this.
You look at him. Look at him.
I know.
It's Jason Stewart.
Why did I not think about this? Has this been a topic on the Doug Gottlieb radio show at all?
Yes. No, I've never once received this comparison. Is this a baller lifestyle thing?
See, this is what Jason does. This is Jason, like you go, hey Jason, we on for 5:30 tomorrow in a text, and then he'll say something completely anything but answer the question. I texted you a screenshot of a text between me and my buddy Chaz, and he's like, hey, is Jason JD Vance or what? And it was pictures of you guys side by side looking like twin brothers. And you do not recall this?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever.
The answer is yes, Steve. He's aware. Yeah, because
it hasn't come up on the radio show.
Could we go back to the supermarket scene?
Yes,
sure.
So he first leaves his middle child with somebody else. Then he has to run through the supermarket to find the middle child.
Prison.
And the middle child's standing in some woman's cart. And he takes the middle child and gives the child that was in his cart, and he says, I'll trade you my kid for yours. And she says, I don't have kids. And then he gets back to the check. Gets back to the cashier, and the baby's missing. And that's when we're introduced to Joan. Which is a very interesting character in this, played by, is it Ann Gillian? Is that who it is?
Ann Gillian, yeah.
Ann Gillian?
She was
It's a Living.
TV show. She was on TV, right? She hadn't done movies for.
It's a Living was her big.
Jason and I think had a private discussion about this, because anytime somebody is known to just have an epic rack, I bring that information to Jason Stewart, because he's cataloged all this information in his brain.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, Ann Gillian, quite a set. And you're like, and Jason Stewart's like, oh, those are B cups at best. This is like, she didn't have. But back in the day,
am I correct? Yes or no, Steve? Ed, yes, okay.
I'm trying to think.
I thought they were a pretty healthy set. I'm right on the supermarket scene here.
It is kind of interesting, because I was having a conversation while I watched this movie last night with my super hot girlfriend Cheyenne, and I go, Ann Gillian was known to have this giant rack, and she goes, yeah, that's before everybody had implants. So her just
Maybe.
like sort of like kind of bigger breasts were considered huge, because the Pamela Andersons hadn't shown up with their giant enhancements at that time.
Right. There was Dolly Parton and Morgana the Kissing Bandit. That's like the only giant
rapist.
Well, Lonnie Anderson was known as big.
That's one.
I think she had like a C cup.
See?
Now,
here comes Jason's encyclopedic knowledge. Yeah.
I'll say this: the scene was written for a busty woman. No doubt. I mean, the character was written for a busty woman, so they definitely had enhancing elements to the bras and whatnot, because they had to set up that punchline about there's two pair. You got two pair. You're looking pretty good, but they're not big, but they're nice. She's a very attractive woman in this. She really is. But I think that what she does a great job of just being very sexy and desirable. She plays it great.
It is interesting too, because she's a well-known blonde. she has blonde hair, and I guess maybe because Terry Garr's blonde, they put her in kind of like a red wig throughout the
it's not a
movie,
good
which
hair.
it's not attractive. Yeah, it's a bad look.
That was what I read. That they
didn't
they didn't want her upstage Terry Gar and be blonde as well, so they put her in a wig. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of your deep cuts of knowledge,
deep dives.
Yes,
well,
interesting.
In the notes.
Yeah. Another great moment in the supermarket is he's got to pick up Kotex maxi pads, and he like tries to play it off like
yes,
and then Edie McClurg is the checkout woman.
That's
right. Who is
now
dead.
Tag.
She's dead, right? Or she has dementia.
I think there's elder abuse. I think she's circling the drain.
Right. She's one of well, I think we talked about this on the podcast that
somebody's trying to take advantage of her.
Filipina housekeeper or something was trying to get power of attorney or something. Yeah. It also, again, what was there a natural disaster? Because there was a literal Giza-sized pyramid of Kotex maxi pads in the middle of the store. I mean, there were actual slave laborers building this giant. Like how many did we need at the store? But that was the thing in the 80s that if your wife needed something from the store for her period, you had to be super embarrassed. Why?
Oh yeah.
Because people might, are you on your period, Jack? Oh, Jack, flowing heavy this week. These for you. Like, obviously, you're buying them for a woman in your life. What was the reason that this was considered so embarrassing ever?
Because it was it was early 80s. It was like the emasculation of men.
Yeah,
emasculation of men. Essentially, is what it was.
I will drop the deepest.
Yeah,
go ahead. I'll drop the deepest of deep cuts. I have in my notes. The woman that he exchanges the child with and says, "I don't have kids," that is George Wendt's wife. She played the real Vera, and she would in real life. That's his wife, and she appeared as Vera in the Thanksgiving episode where she gets the pie in her face. You never actually see her, but that's her. That's the real Vera.
Wow!
No shit. That's a good one.
Daily, unbelievable deep cut there.
That's a pull.
Yeah, so they're leaving the supermarket, and they kind of have to set the tone for what Joan's going to be, the seductress here. So she gives him the number, and it says anytime underneath it, right? And then he pulls away, and Elaine all of a sudden shows up, Cousin Eddie's wife, and she says he's married, and Julian says so were we once. Yeah. So that sets up one of the plot lines here.
Right.
Literal
Randy
homewrecker. Actual homewrecker. And honestly, like, how has there never been a woman like this in my life? No one has ever in my life been like, oh, that Brian Beckner, that guy, I'm going to stalk him for sex. Like, I'm going to find Brian Beckner and I'm going to fuck the shit out of him because I want him so bad. That's never happened to me. It's never happened to fucking any man. And in movies, it's like, he's just a schlub, jobless house husband. And Jack Butler and Jillian. And Jillian can't wait to fuck. Save some first names for the rest of us, and Jillian. And Jillian can't wait to fuck him. Unbelievable. It's fantasy.
And then now we set up the greatest scene of the movie. Like the next day.
Steve, you got to set it up. Steve's got to set this up. He's got a T-shirt.
Is that this one? We're already at the Martin Mull arriving at the house.
Oh yeah. She comes home. I mean, like it's the supermarket. Then she sees that he put the kid in the bathtub wearing socks.
That's right.
And then next morning, slippers. Yeah. The next morning, the limo pulls up. He's in a bathrobe, so he has to scramble.
Yeah.
Had she been talking about this Ron Richardson and her boss?
Ron.
Because why was Jack or was Jack just saw a limo and was just like, oh shit, I need to impress?
Yeah, he's looking at a limo and
that's right. And he's in his robe and he runs upstairs like. Yeah.
When she came home from work the night before, she was regaling him, and look, we've all been through this. She was regaling him with a super boring story about her day at work.
Yeah.
Look,
why not just tell me about your dreams too? Like, come on.
You know, sometimes you're trying to fucking plug in the wires and get everything set up, and you got a bunch of drunks in your house because you're trying to record a a podcast about the great movie Boogie Nights, and it's Thanksgiving weekend, and somebody comes home from their job in an advertising agency and wants to cry about their day, and you're like, hey, how about you wait till I'm done making this fucking content right here in the kitchen, okay? Then you can tell me all about it. I can't do it right now. But that's not what he does. He like a good husband, he listens quietly, and she's like, Ron this, blah, 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 Ron that. And then the next morning, Ron's picking her up in a limousine to go pitch the fucking Schooner Tuna guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
A limousine.
Yeah.
Take it away,
Sam. And Jack is obviously like, oh shit, I need to impress this guy. I got to show him that I'm not just a dude that doesn't know how to pick up my kids at school and drop them off.
Be a real man.
So he comes in the room wearing the overalls and the hat with a chainsaw, as I have on my
a gas-powered chainsaw.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions
with some goggles too.
Yeah, with the goggles, and just to make himself seem like he's a real handyman around the house. He really knows what he's doing with a toolbox and a chainsaw.
You can also see underneath his overalls that are misaligned when they're clipped on the front. You could see his pajama bottoms on through the sides underneath, which is a great touch. Yeah,
good catch. So he introduces himself to Ron, and Ron's like, "Oh, you seem like a real handyman, Jack."
First, before that, he goes. He shows up with the chainsaw. He goes, "Want a beer?" Yeah. And he goes, "It's 7 o'clock in the morning." He goes, "Scotch." And then he goes, and then Martin Mull has a really underrated line here. He goes, "Not during working hours." Oh, I'm sorry, pal.
Sorry, pal.
He fucked him. He fucked him right there.
One subtle thing that Jack Butler does in this when he comes in with the chainsaw. She's upstairs getting ready. You know, women, and then he pulls out like a rag and he wipes his brow like he's been working all morning. You know, women, Ron. Well, I'd like to think I do. Yeah.
Because he fucks. He's got that mustache. Ron Richardson's letting him know that he does work in the bedroom. He's like, yeah, I know women. Absolutely.
By the way, up for the role of Ron Richardson in this movie.
Yes.
Dabney Coleman.
He'd be great.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Jack
They're
Nicholson,
like interchangeable.
Jack Nicholson, way too popular. I don't. Was he?
He's too
Jack
big
Nicholson
for that.
83. Okay.
Yeah.
That was Terms of Endearment, I think.
He was super famous in 1971. Like,
and
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was what?
That was
late
around
70s.
Yeah,
no, earlier than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy Rider 68.
Our resident pedo, Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, he would have been good.
Played a real good smarmy dude.
Yes, he would have been good. Absolutely. Yeah. He's a great actor.
He would have worked for Ron Richardson. Of course, it wouldn't have aged well once we found out he
likes
to download child porn. But
Yes.
Dabney Coleman basically played this character in 9 to 5, right? It was kind of the same sleazebag. But Martin Mull, I don't know what else he did. I honestly don't remember another. You guys probably know other projects he did. I only know him from this, and there isn't a more brilliant portrayal.
I think he had a role on Roseanne. I never watched Roseanne, but I think I think he had like a prominent role, so he got paid at least.
And he came from like Canadian TV, sketch comedy, talk show.
Yeah, he had a show with Fernwood Tonight with Fred Willard.
Yep.
Yeah.
I swear he steals every scene. He just steals every scene. He's amazing in this. So of course, Steve, the
T-shirt.
Jack's trying to tell him that he's going to take advantage of this time off, and he's going to do an addition to the house. And that's when my super hot girlfriend was like, "With a chainsaw? Is that why you needed the chainsaw to show that you're doing an addition to the house with a chainsaw?" And then what does he say?
I don't even I know the line that he says because it's on my shirt, but I'm trying to think of the line.
I'll set you up for it. He goes, "Gonna rip these walls out and of course rewire it." And he goes, "You gonna make it all 220?"
Yeah, you can make it all 220. 220, 221, whatever it takes. And then Martin Mull, the look that he gives him is like, okay, this guy's full of shit. I know this guy knows absolutely nothing about what he's doing.
Jack Butler has an engineering degree.
Yeah, and he doesn't know about rewiring.
He doesn't know the difference between 110 volts of electricity and 220 volts of electricity. He doesn't know, he has to know that.
I listened to a podcast with Michael Keaton recently, and he said that was a day of the shooting. He said, "Hey, maybe can I get can we get a chainsaw and some goggles?" And they provided it. And then Martin Mull said to him on the spot, "Let's do 220, 221, whatever it takes." Like, gave him the line of the movie.
That's
that was
great.
Martin Mull's idea, and he's like, he fed me the line.
Oh, okay, nice.
And quick note, and Jason, you're gonna like this. 1 Degree of Separation. Martin Mull, 2 episodes of Gary Unmarried, 2008, 2009.
Did he really?
Oh,
wow.
Jesus.
Wow. Yes.
He must have
didn't
played
play
Gary's
the,
old man or something.
Yeah, but basically Jason's co-star, Martin Mull.
Wow. 1 Degree of Separation.
Yeah.
But like there's just like, I could watch this scene on a loop all day. There's just a certain, like, that look that Martin Mull shoots him after he says 221, like, it informs you right away that even though this guy was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and he inherited a mansion or whatever, he actually has done handiwork. And Jack Butler's a complete fucking idiot. But it's such an amazing scene, the way they dance through this. And I didn't know that was an ad lib either. I thought that was a John Hughes.
Yeah, that's
classic.
a Martin Mull ad lib.
Yeah,
that's
it's
awesome.
a great line. Yeah, I mean, it's the classic line of the movie. Yeah.
Good enough for me to buy a T-shirt about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then, sorry.
Oh, Jesus.
Jeez. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my
Sheriff.
God. Ed's got COVID-19. We're all going to come down with it. He's a super spreader.
I'm fine. Maybe the most dated thing in this movie, the TV repair woman shows up.
Yeah.
Do people just have...
Yes.
People just throw out their TV when it breaks.
Of course, yes.
It's not necessarily that there was a TV repair woman. It's what she was there to fix. The horizontal hold.
Yeah,
that's
just a knob.
That's a very early '80s issue when you couldn't deal with the flipping of the screens.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with your horizontal hold. It's like they're going to charge me $50 to fix that.
What was the technology that sometimes you'd turn on your TV and the fucking screen would just be flipping and you'd have to turn a little knob and then it would just hold it straight. You'd be like, oh, got it.
How about not making that an option for it to flip?
Yes.
How about just making it locked in?
Yeah. And also, who's doing the scheduling at this house? Because they got the TVs getting repaired, the exterminator's there. I happen to know that the exterminator comes and sprays. You got to get out of the house for a little while, or you're gonna be inhaling fumes. And then what's the third guy? A plumber?
Yeah.
No, he's got the what do you call it? Water heater?
Exterminator TV.
Yeah,
we got to look at the water heater.
After because this was at the end after the whole washing machine blew up or whatever.
Yeah.
So this was all at the end when they all three of them were there, right?
Yeah. But no, he decides to do the laundry where he overfills the laundry, and then his son introduces him to Jaws, and this is how clueless Michael Keaton's character is. Jack Butler is
Can't
that
vacuum.
He barely even knows that there is a vacuum in the house. And he says, your mom calls the vacuum Jaws. Like, and again, he's kind of pushing back. Like, I've got this. Like, Jack Butler's here to handle things. And that's kind of one of these slapstick, corny parts of this movie. Like, this very much speaks to the younger audience. Like, there's no nuance here. It's the vacuum cleaner is Jaws, and it's going to eat up everything in its path, including the whoopee, the security blanket.
Yeah.
So you got Jaws terrorizing. You got the washer dryer downstairs. You got all three repair people in the house, and the chili. Now there's a
baby's
great
eating chili.
Yeah,
that's the thing. But before the baby eats the chili, there's that subtle comedy again with the oldest son. The oldest son is cooking the chili, and Michael Keaton walks in and checks in on him, and I think he says, "Where's the vacuum?" And the oldest son flips the spoon to the closet, and chili goes everywhere.
Over there.
I just love that fucking line.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it's just it's a vacuum that they're just so scared of, and it's moving at 0.1 miles an hour around the house. Just like, really, you'd be scared of this?
Yes.
I don't like. What would just unplug it or just grab it by the handle?
I remember when a vacuum was going when I was a kid. You couldn't get TV reception, or it would like fuck up the TV. Like, I don't know what was going on with those vacuums back in the day.
Yes. One thing I noticed too, and I think it's later in the movie that he has to beat it with a plastic sword. But and younger people,
popcorn maker.
Younger people will be stunned by this. But there was a time that people were eating so much fucking popcorn that you needed an appliance on the counter that could just fucking blow a steady stream of popcorn. And I need popcorn now. Push that button quick. Here comes the popcorn. And if don't worry, if you weren't rich enough to have one of those, you could buy, you needed popcorn so bad, you couldn't just put it in a pan with some oil. You had to buy a pre-made pan that had popcorn in it, so you could just grab it and get it on the fucking stove right away because you got to have popcorn.
That's the first scene in Scream, right? In Scream, she's making it on the stove.
Yeah, Jiffy Pop. Yeah.
Before we get to the obstacle course, which is genius, which is just a genius scene, there's that small scene where Jack Butler, I think he goes to the employment office. Like there's just an office where they find people jobs.
Yeah.
That scene where he sits right between two guys exchanging information about a beef Wellington. And, you got to, cook the butter. And then and Keaton interrupts him. He's like, wait, hold on a second. Could you use margarine with that? And then before he gets up and takes a meeting, he's like, make sure I get that menu or that recipe before I leave. Just like that shit is so fucking funny to me.
So I was personally offended by that, by the way, because I like to cook, and they're insinuating that you're a pussy if you want to know how to make a beef Wellington, and I'd be like, I would like to know that.
Back then, you were a pussy, though.
Yes. Yeah. Steve, I stepped on you. What were you going to say?
I want to go a little bit, I don't want to call it deep here. This has nothing to do with internet research. But there is a scene right after the whole chaos in the house. You guys have all had kids.
Yeah.
And Jack has to go to his kid who Jaws ripped his whoopee.
Oh, it's so good.
And he has this talk with the kid. Mm-hmm. And he's just trying to get the kid to give up the whoopee. He's just like, Kenny, give me the whoopee. No. Just shoots him down right away.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, well, how about you give it to me for a week? Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious. You guys have all had kids, and you've all had younger kids at this point. Did any of them have something like that you had to go to and have a tough conversation of, you can't have this anymore. You're getting older, buddy.
Yes. Yeah.
Pacifiers, like at the very early age where like you want them to stop sucking on a pacifier. Somebody told me the trick was to cut a little tiny hole in it, so it's not.
It's not as gratifying.
Doesn't it's gratifying? Really? And then they're like, fuck this.
Yeah, they get rid of it. We
any toy or anything like that? Any like a blanket?
So my brother had a blankie, and it would just like slowly disintegrate until it was just like a little square at some point. And I remember my parents had to they gave him a talk, and then that was it.
Well, we also got to remember the first time he comes to him and says, "My whoopie's ripped." Jack is watching. Jack is watching soap operas, and he's got the ironing board out, and he just staples it. And then the other kid brings him a grilled cheese sandwich and says it's cold, and he puts the iron on the grilled cheese sandwich, and then that's where he starts having the conversation about the soap opera, and the older child fills him in about Kenny being a snake.
Fantastic.
The whole thing, this is after the obstacle course, by the way, but like when he settles into that, what would you call that he goes through three phases. I could handle this and I could reinvent being a mom. And then he goes to the complacent stage where he starts to put on weight, and he's growing a beard. And this whole soap opera thing is so funny. The way the scene starts off by him looking at the soap opera, seeing what they're saying, watching the dialogue, and saying, people actually watch this? And then, like 5 to 8 minutes later, he's into it. He's like taking a call from Joan and just talking about it without even thinking about it. It was so funny the way they did that. But that's the complacent mom. And then the overachieving mom where he's going to whip it and do it on her terms. That's the arc of the character, but we have to get to the obstacle course. And the obstacle course starts with the car ride on the way to Ron's mansion. So the boss, for those who haven't seen the movie, the boss is putting on I guess a coworker party. What would you call that? Just like a work party and
a company party. Yeah.
Company party at the boss's place.
Yeah.
And
this
he's
is on
basically
Tubi,
like
by
Logan.
the way. This is on Tubi, by the way, if anyone wants to watch it for free.
It's on Tubi.
He's basically like Logan Roy. Like he lives in a fucking palatial estate with many servants in dressed in French made uniforms.
So they pull up and the kids are like, "Whoa, look at the size of this house." And Michael Keaton's first line is, "It's probably mortgaged to the eyeballs." And and the wife is like, "No, actually it was inheritance from his rich uncle blank and blank." And then Michael
Commander
Keaton's like,
Richardson.
Yeah. And Michael Keaton's like, "Yeah, hand me down." So they get to the backyard and they realize that this obstacle course is like a yearly thing. Everyone's got to partake in it. All the men do it. Notice there are no women that could partake in the obstacle course. But since Jack is kind of an oddity, he's a Mr. Mom. The boss gives him shit, right? He's like, Butler, you look like a real sportsman. We do this obstacle course, men only. If not, you could just sit with the other wives. And there was something about sit with the other wives. Yeah. What does he say, Steve? He says something. He's like, "I'll tell you what, boys, why don't you run to the car and get my gym bag?" And then it's on. But the rule is, you don't.
Oh
Good
my
Lord,
Jason Stewart! Oh my God,
we have speed.
Wow, in his Vince Scully shirt.
You can't beat the boss at the obstacle course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, everybody knows that. Yeah, you can't beat the boss at golf, any of that. Yeah.
But he's a real sportsman.
But like the other guys know the deal, and like they're like, "What's he doing?" when he's trying.
Yeah.
It is the way the way they set it up is amazing too, because they're like at the starting line, they're ready to take off, and it's ridiculous because they have numbers. What are those things called? Those that you like
bibs.
Put on at bibs. They have numbered bibs, and they have like sweatbands, and they're set up, and you're like, oh hell yeah, there's a sprint, it's gonna go down, and then there's a starter gun, of course, because this is a backyard barbecue. There's a starter gun, and they start to sprint, and the camera peels back, and they're all wearing flippers.
It's amazing, and you have to. If you go back 40 years, Chariots of Fire had either just won Best Picture, or that was a very iconic music, right, at that time. So they have the Chariots of Fire to start the race.
Yes. Never saw it, by the way. Another one I want credit.
I've
never seen
Chariots
of Fire.
But
Looks
they
horrible.
also use that song when they're running in the parking lot at Wally World, when Rusty and Clark Griswold are running.
And let's not forget, during this obstacle course, the other guys are trying to make sure Jack doesn't win. They're going through the tube and they're grabbing his flipper, and Jack's looking back like, what the hell is going on here? That makes him want to win this race even more.
Yes.
And then obviously he pulls ahead at the end and he's running towards the finish line. He clearly has a lead. He clearly is going to win.
Comes up lame. Yeah.
And pulls a fake hammy. Like he
makes a business decision.
Team.
It's a business decision.
Smart.
But the real genius is when the look on Martin Mull's face when he wins, and they put him on their shoulders, and he's like, "I did it, I did it, I did it." He's got the champagne.
They pick him up in a champion's chair. He's being carried around, and he's got champagne and a trophy at his own barbecue. It's amazing.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah. He's just so proud of himself.
Yeah, it's great.
Knowing that he didn't do it. And Jack basically gave it to him.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that scene. I love that scene.
So,
what were the real quick, what were the things in the obstacle course? It was
there was a tricycle slalom.
Then they crawl through like I don't know, like a cave thing, whatever, like plastic cave. Yeah. Tricycle around slalom tricycle.
Slalom. Yeah. Amazing.
And then we were into the final sprint. Was it only three things?
They like sprint up a hill at the end.
No, they were going through some tunnel, right?
That was the
Yeah.
second thing. That was after.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm looking. They get off the tricycles, then they're doing hurdles right now.
Oh, that hurdle.
Oh yeah, hurdles. Yeah, Lolo Jones, shades of Lolo Jones.
Yeah.
You clip one hurdle, and the world is against you. No one wants you to win because
Yeah.
you're Lolo Jones and you're a virgin.
That's when Ursa's like, "What's he doing?" Because he's in the lead, and
Trying
he
to win.
sees this. He sees this
He's
sad
winning.
look on
Yeah.
Terry Garr's face,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Here comes the hammy."
Yeah.
So what? Then they go pitch. It's time to pitch Schooner Tuna. And
Yeah. Yeah.
they go in and like all their pitches are shitty, and then, I mean, this Schooner Tuna guy. No wonder the company's in trouble. Because
But-
Terry
Think of a
Garr,
better slogan.
Terry
But I
Garr
will
goes
say,
in- yeah.
being married to someone and knowing lots of people in the advertising business, there are, like, I know people that used to work on the Wendy's account, and Dave Thomas would be like, that's a great ad, but you need to put me in the ad too.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, there are certain CEOs that always, like, they would
for
have
sure.
to be in it. Like, I've definitely know that's the case. So it's a pretty shitty ad, but sometimes the owner needs to be in it.
Yep. So she goes in and pitches him, right? And her pitch is, everybody's broke these days. What you should do is just come out and say, hey, we know everybody's tightening their belt, and because of that, we're lowering the price of a can of tuna by 50 cents and to help you tighten your belts until things get better, then we can raise the price again. And then her slogan is Schooner Tuna, the tuna with a heart. In 1983, what was a can of tuna? 89 cents. She's like, her pitch was, let's cut your revenue by at least 60%.
But she also
anyway, want to give me the campaign?
She shits on him because she's like, yeah, you had all these leftover tumblers from the last giveaway. Like, right? They had like a bunch of giveaways, and she's just shitting on it. It's a big waste of money.
Yeah. So, but they win the account, and then they got to fly, I assume. Oh wait, they flew to get the account, and I don't know how far away it is, but they're like on a G5, and they're having steaks, like filet mignons are being delivered to the table, and there's magnums of champagne. It's like
they're going from Detroit to LA, I believe.
Yeah,
that's Detroit to LA.
It's very plush. There's a lot of overhead at this agency. And but then so she wins the account and she goes to LA to shoot the commercial. And that's when, and this is a little implausible to me because look, this Ron Richardson, this man is randy. This guy needs it. He picks her up in a limo the second day of work. Like he's trying to fuck. And he waits until they're in LA, right? She's in the bath. He pays off a bellman or something to let him in the room with shrimp cocktail. And what's he in? He's in his PJs and a goddamn robe. Yeah. So then so what happens? He basically, it's a weak attempted sexual assault. She fends him off. But at some point, Jack Butler calls the room and he picks up the phone and says, "Oh, she can't come to the phone. She's in the bath," and hangs up. Yeah. And that's like the real.
And that sets
drama.
Jack off for the rest of the night. He can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And throws this is where he boots the TV and leaves his shoe in the TV.
Right. That's right.
Which is when the television repair woman comes later on. I found out the problem with your TV. It's this shoe.
Yeah.
It's like did you need a TV repairman to tell you this? Like, kind of obvious your TV didn't work. You had a fucking hole in it.
Yeah.
And Terry Garr punches him when she sees that he's
when
there.
he tried to he tried to diddle her.
Yeah, that's right. She lights him up. Yeah.
And we did zip over when the mom crew takes him to like Chippendales.
Oh, this is much like the popcorn maker. We were sold a bill of goods in the 1980s that women were like, hey, you know what would get me super horny is a bunch of disgusting gay men rubbing their hairy chests all over me. And then we can put $1 next to their sweaty penis like that. Like nothing gets me hornier than that. Let's go like Muriel. Let's go hit the male gay strip club. Like how was this ever a thing? It never was.
No,
it wasn't.
But there's this crucial part of the plot line remember I said he goes in that second part of his character where he's like complacent, chubby, bearded guy who's into soap operas, and he doesn't want to think of anything else except for the plot line of the soap. And then they have that crucial conversation at the end of the poker game where she was like, that flannel could walk on its own. And then she calls him Orson Welles, and he's like, I'm gonna go sleep on the fat couch if I could fit through this door. And then he has that dream where he's seduced by Joan, and that's
he's like
when,
in a soap opera.
Yeah,
correct.
That's right.
And then,
but at the time, we're fooled by it in the early '80s. We're fooled thinking, wait a second, is he having an affair with Joan?
This is really happening.
Thought it was real. Yeah. And Terry Garr's character walks in, and she shoots him. Yeah. And they call back the line because Martin Mull comes in and says, "What did you shoot him with? What was that? What
38?
You guys know your date? What did you shoot with? 38? She's like, 38, 39, whatever worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Great line.
And that dream inspired cue the Rocky scene. Now he's going to become the guy that is on all of his P's and Q's and a great mother. And he actually is, there's a great scene where he is one of the traffic cops and he's telling a dad that just got laid off, I'm sure, hey, north to pick off, south to drop off. Let's get this right, okay? All this shit that he couldn't figure out early on, now he's got it figured out because he gave into it. He's just got to be a mom. So his character completely transforms, and that's when he tells her at Halloween, look, these kids are gonna outgrow this stuff. The kids are dressed in their Halloween costumes, and he's dressed in a prisoner costume. And she's like, yeah, just like you outgrew it, Jack. And then he just kind of looks at himself. But he basically hits her between the eyes with, look, the more you miss of this, I forget the exact line he uses, but let me give you some advice. You're missing out on what's important. And she thinks about it. She has that scene with Martin Mull in California. And then this whole thing again where they go back to the house. He has obviously decided to renovate. Like he has a whole new bedroom set, like within 24 hours.
That was kind of weird.
Yeah. Something happened where they fast forwarded a lot. And that's when Joan takes full advantage of Jack Butler in his most vulnerable spot. She hears that they're on the rocks, and she goes right over to his house.
And lays on his bed while he's in the shower. Because she's
Daniels.
Basically like, when he gets out of the shower, he is going to go to town on me.
No, are the kids at school? I mean, there are kids home. Like, she's just like, hey, let's fuck in the middle of the day. Like, what? What?
Well, it was also midday. Yeah, that too.
And also the TV, the lesbian that's there to fix the TV is there. Yeah. Like it's a bustling house. Like, why is he even taking a shower in the middle of the day when there's kids to be watched? Like, you just can't just set. We've already learned that the little baby can't be left alone in the little walker thing because she ends up eating a can of chili at the when she's left alone.
And then sorry to go back. One more thing. When he's whipping the household into shape, that's when he has the tough conversation about the whoopee. And I love the line where he's like, I've seen it a million times. Like, sooner or later, you're out on the streets trying to score an electric blanket or quilt. Then you're strung out on bedspreads.
He goes, before you know it, you're going to be strung out on bedspreads.
That was great.
Classic. Yeah.
Did you say, Jason? Did you notice the call? The Quentin Tarantino, I think, adopted this in Pulp Fiction. I've never heard him admit to this. But the scene in Mr. Mom where he is deciding whether or not to have sex with Joan and the mirror is fogging up, John Travolta did the exact same thing when Uma Thurman was in the other room. Same thing.
Snorting heroin.
I don't know if it's ever been acknowledged, but that's the same theme. Like, I need to go in the bathroom and think about this. And they
pros and cons.
Themselves. So she comes out. Like, you have to admit that Terry Garr's character and Michael Keaton's character are very forgiving because Michael Keaton called her hotel room and the boss answered. She comes home.
I could hear the champagne chilling.
Yeah.
She comes home to find Joan laying in her bed Like these are very extreme,
Yes.
extreme examples. I know there were, a misunderstanding like Three's Company, but those are very extreme examples that they somehow get past by the end of the movie, right?
But I guess without
absolutely,
cell phones, there were just more misunderstandings.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Kinda
People would
like-
run
yeah,
into
kinda like-
people.
Yeah. It's like this whole movie could have been avoided if cell phones were a thing. Kind of like in Karate Kid 2. We could have avoided all that if somebody could have just sent an email or a phone. Picked up the phone.
It went 40 years without talking. They had phones. They could have easily contacted each other. How come I never heard from you? And they're like, well, you were in Okinawa and I was in Los Angeles running a fucking car dealership. And it's like, well, you could have called. Like, no one called. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's right.
Yeah, I always got to get a call.
And then there
back
was
to
one thing, I
Great
think,
movie.
right before this, the climax, where she shows up and tries to fuck him. When he goes back to the review board, like at the car company, and there's the famous, I think, the movie poster. He's got to dry the baby out with the hand dryer.
Yes, yeah.
But the offer there is like Jeffrey Tambor is like, hey, I've been covering for you, and he's been fired, and he's like, I can't cover for you any longer. He's like, I don't work here, and he's like, well, you can have your job back at half the price. And he yells at the kids for talking up. He's like, I'll punch you. I'm gonna knock you out or something if you talk to my kid like that again.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
And Jeffrey Tambor's plan, I mean, obviously he had been cooking the books, and his plan wasn't a great plan. He's like, just admit that it was all your fault, even though he had no leverage over him. He's just like, no, be a stand-up guy. Hey, take one for the team like Christopher Lloyd and that other guy did earlier, And he's like, what? It was an ill-conceived plan, I thought.
But then ultimately that it's resolved. He finds out because he's still upset at that point. He doesn't know what had happened. He assumed that Martin Mull just put it in his wife.
That's right.
She's coming home and he's seeing her for the first time, and he runs downstairs, and then all hell breaks loose. Martin Mull comes over with a bruise over his nose, and she tells him, I quit. He made a pass at me. I punched him and I quit. And then his people come to him and are like, they want you back, and tell him I won't make a move without Larry and Stan. And he gets his job back, and everything's basically back to normal. But then I think, doesn't Ann Jillian just, once she realizes, oh, fuck, his marriage isn't going to be over anymore, doesn't she start flirting with the plumber dude or the electrician?
Oh,
doesn't she leave with him? That whore just leaves with him.
Well, she needed it. She had needs that needed to be taken care of, and Jack Butler wasn't going to be able to deal with those needs. So
I know someone who would have been happy to take care of her needs. The TV repair woman.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well,
yes,
that's the thing.
She was her type. Yeah.
In the last scene, Ron was seen flirting with her. That's the thing.
Ron, it was Ron with Ann Jillian, and the electrician and the TV repair woman were the ones that started like talking to each other, I believe.
So the question to you all is, it was left purposefully vague. Who took what job? Because he could have his job at full salary with Stan and his buddy back. And Martin Mull said that the tuna CEO is not going to do business with us unless you're with us. So I'm guessing that he would sweeten the pot for her. So what happens? What's the implied? How do we move forward after this?
So I think I think maybe there was talk of her doing like part-time, being part at home and part at the ad agency. And I think he took the job at the car manufacturer.
I think the whole movie came full circle. He ended up getting his job back. Yeah. She wanted to stay home with the kids. And probably get some sort of residuals every time Tuna with a Heart gets aired on television.
Well, also, and even in 1983, she's got a $500,000 sexual harassment suit there. You know, so what they would be wise to do is give her one of those no-show jobs and just you pay her. Hey, we're gonna pay you your salary. You don't have to come in. You know, maybe once in a while you have a meeting with the Schooner Tuna guy, but we're gonna pay you for the next 8 years because we owe you because Richardson got grabby.
We're going to pay you like University of Texas paid Vince Young.
Exactly.
And then he still blew all his money at Cheesecake Factory.
Yes, you got to show up. Yeah, show up, shake some hands, and that's it. That's all it's going to take.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? I was going to look up all of the goofs and the trivia related to the movie, but I feel like Reality Steve has all that. Do you have any?
That's right.
Do you have anything left from your deep dive?
There was one other thing that I didn't even realize. They made a TV spinoff a year after this movie came out. That John Hughes, I guess, wrote it, and I don't remember it at all. Probably, obviously, didn't last very long.
Clearly, Keaton wasn't in it. Did they have
nobody
anyone,
was
like
in it. They said the only two people that were involved in the movie that were also in the TV show were all behind the scenes people, and one of them was Hughes. It was like producer and writer or something like that. But none of the characters came back.
I
don't remember that at all.
This.
They tried a Ferris Bueller TV show. They've failed on it. Animal House. There have been a lot of failure.
Yes.
TV.
It doesn't work. I don't think this works in a TV series even back then.
But Michael Keaton, obviously Beetlejuice was a couple years later. Batman was massive. But Michael Keaton went through some lean years, right? I want to say like mid 90s until almost like recently, right? Like
I think he if maybe from the same interview, like he made a lot of money for Batman, and so he started taking independent roles and like weird things that interested him, and then he would take the occasional Herbie Fully Loaded to just pay some bills, and then he would do some stuff, and then it was Birdman that like all of a sudden. Then he was back.
Birdman like brought him back on. Well, remember he was in Iron Man, one of the Iron Mans. He was the main. Yeah. He's an MCU character. He was. He played.
That's probably post Birdman, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was the heavy in RoboCop too. The sad RoboCop remake. He was the bad guy in that. He works. Yeah, he works.
I just
lives
saw
up
a
in
movie
Montecito.
on Max that was pretty good. He played a hitman that was going through dementia called Knox Goes Away. It was pretty good.
That sounds pretty good. He's always good. I mean,
an old movie,
great.
Like from
just
early
it was. It popped up probably like the algorithm said you might like this, and it was Michael Keaton, and it was either last year or this year, and it's on Max.
Oh, so it's recent. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Knox Goes Away. Just interesting. And then he obviously just did the Beetlejuice 2, so he's got like a big, high-paying role right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I never need to see a Tim Burton movie again, but I will say this about this movie. Like, me and Brian and Ed have had this conversation, I think 3 times
at least
about movies we should do on this podcast. We had the same conversation about Boogie Nights and Fast Times. And the conversation goes like this. Maybe we should do this movie. And the conversation is like, oh, it's too good. It's too good a movie. We like it too much. Because train wrecks are usually better podcasts. I will say this, that I did not regret Fast Times. Boogie Nights was kind of a shit show. But this was a love letter.
We were all wasted.
Yeah. Right. This is a love letter
especially
to one of my
Chris
favorite
Morales.
movies. Yeah. Chris was a little rough. But I really enjoyed like rewatching this, going over it again.
It's great.
I very much encourage our listeners. If you have not seen it, please sit down, watch it on Tubi. Promo code JStew. You'll get it for free. You'll get the Tubi for free if promo code JStew.
The other thing is just you also have to put yourself in the mindset of just remember this came out in '83. This doesn't really it doesn't hold today really because you just be like so many of these things are just like what's the big deal that she's working like we said. But you just got to remember the time it was made. And this was a very, very funny movie for 1983.
And it's clear why Michael Keaton was a star.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he was awesome in this movie. I mean, just his comedic timing was. What comedies did he do after this? Like
Beetlejuice is kind of a weird comedy. But then he would take
80s,
roles the same time that he took Beetlejuice, he did Clean and Sober. Like he would do some heavy movies too.
Gung Ho. He was
Gung Ho.
Our manufacturer again, Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of my favorites as well. But that one doesn't hold up either. There's a lot of
I mean, that
doesn't hold up at all.
We were
funny
doing
movie.
Asian people dirty in the 1980s. It was we owe them an apology.
We should do Rising Sun sometime as a movie review.
Yeah. Wait, is that the one with Sean Connery?
Yeah, and Snipes.
Yeah.
Tia Carrera. I haven't seen it since the 90s, but it can hold up well.
No, definitely not. That's why we can't. I assume that's why we can't find Cannonball Run anywhere.
Oh yeah,
because of the Asian portrayals, amongst other things. I'm sure.
Cannonball Run is not on any streaming service?
Apparently not. No.
Yeah.
We also did.
But Blazing Saddles is.
Yeah, but we talked about that. That's more making fun of racism, so that makes sense. But we did Revenge of the Nerds, which is also very difficult to find.
Very problematic.
Yes,
because I just watched that. That was on 2 weeks ago on AMC, and I caught it was 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I'm watching the whole thing. This is such a good movie. Now, it sucked on AMC. Yeah. It was terrible because there was
they had to take out the rapes. Yeah, so the movie was 5 minutes long. I believe Sean Pendergast on this show said that he goes, I counted 14 major felonies in this movie. So if you cut all those out, it's like an 8-minute movie.
Yeah, no, it was.
Porky's, I assumed, can't exist.
No.
Yeah,
but Revenge of the Nerds is another movie that I quote all the time. I've got the T-shirts that I have from that movie.
Tell me.
I mean, literally a picture of Booger's face that says "We've got Bush." I've got that T-shirt.
Classic. Yes.
I've got. Now, have I ever worn it in public?
No,
I haven't. My friend got it for me because he knows I like these T-shirts.
Yeah.
But I've got an Adams College shirt. I've got a Greek festival javelin throw T-shirt. I mean, I've got a few from
this limp-wristed throwing style. Yes.
Yeah, just
absolutely
such a great movie.
Okay, guys,
I'm tired of Betty.
Fantastic work as always. Does anybody else have anything? Have we missed anything? Anything we've forgotten? Anything to
tight
add?
movie? Tight 90.
Tight 90. Hey, we got it done in a tight 90.
Can we discuss the Dodgers Padres tied at 1 going to Game 3?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing? How do we feel about the seeding? Should the playoffs reseed after every round? Is that
never should you reseed? That's the joy of tournaments. That's how it works.
That's what happens.
Well, how about more? I'm we've been over the reseeding stuff, but have you seen all the videos? I mean, this happens, I guess, all the time at Dodger Stadium, but these fight videos that and then we see videos last night of the Dodger fans chucking shit at Estrada and the Padre bullpen, and it's just like, we just not throw stuff on a field.
I've said this many times on the podcast that basketball fans, and I feel these fans think it's cool to talk shit to someone that could kill you. And I am in favor of players being allowed to go into the crowd and beat the shit out of fans. And then if you knew, it's kind of like the theory that if you go to a zoo and they just leave one door open, there's an element of danger. You're not going to act like an asshole.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's look. This is I have the perfect fix for this. We make Vontaze Burfict head of security. Like this, you want to come on the field, you want to throw something, you got to deal with Vontaze. Like it's like, are you tempting fate? Because you don't want to end up with severe brain damage, and that's what Vontaze is going to give you. So that's what we can do.
And let's also, I just want to point this out. I'm not in the game of making predictions because predictions is bad radio.
Awful.
But I will say this: the fact that the Dodgers Game 3 starter is Walker Buehler, who has been absolute horseshit for 3 months.
He's pitched well. His last two starts have been pretty good. He's pitched well.
Was he?
Yes.
But for 3 months, he showed us he's just whatever. He's lost whatever. His velocity is there, but
double TJ
he just got lit up for 3 months.
I
can't believe he's their Game 3 starter.
As an Oriole fan, when I heard that Flaherty was going to be one of the key starters when he was the Orioles trade deadline rental last year, and he was so bad that they removed him from the rotation altogether. I was like, how the fuck is this guy good now? He was the worst.
He was great for the Dodgers. I mean, he was a great pickup for the Dodgers.
He's handsome. The
guy he's handsome, but
who is
also
starting?
Wears the number 0. Yeah.
Who's starting Game 4, Jason?
They don't know. It's a day to day.
Is it going to be a bullpen game? I mean, if they lose Game 3, are they running back out Yamamoto?
Yamamoto.
I think they penciled in Knack, but maybe Yamamoto, maybe a bullpen game. Who knows?
You can get away with a 3-man rotation in the playoffs.
Yeah,
you can do 3-man.
But you're down 2-1, and you got to go to a bullpen game in Game 4.
No, you got to go Yamamoto. You got to go Yamamoto in that spot with Landon Knack there, or maybe and then you got Landon Knack in case things go bad again in the first inning. Look,
Yeah.
Dodgers got this. They win the next two. They close this thing out in San Diego. 100%.
Let's do this.
Lose the next two.
Yeah, let's do this. Okay.
Height 90.
See, this Jason Stewart's like, oh, we got to start early. Hey, I need to start early. And then he's like, okay, sure, it's over now. It's like this guy's dictating terms. This guy's 1 degree of separation from Martin Mull, and he thinks and he's inventing new words on the show. Like he's like, okay, let's do this. We're done. Okay. For special guest reality, Steve, thank you for joining us. For our dear friend Jason Stewart, and of course for the always fantastic Mr. Ed Daly. My name is Brian Beckner. This has been episode number 545 of the Baller Lifestyle Podcast. Please like, review, and share with your friends. We will see you next week.
Goodbye.
TBLS, hell yes, the Lifestyles Baller Podcast getting bigger.